my name is Larry, and this is my unfortunate story of my wife getting caught cheating at a house party. My wife was always outgoing, hanging out with her friends and going to bars, but she never crossed a line that I know of until now. My wife and I are both in our mid 40s and have successful careers. She works as a real estate agent and has a part time job as a sales associate at a major furniture store. I retired from the military, joined the military when I was just 18 years old, and retired shortly after my 39th birthday. But I didn't marry until I left the military. I saw too many men getting burned while I was in, especially if they had kids. These women were taking half of these guys' retirement when they divorced. That scared the hell out of me. After leaving the military, I got a job repairing circuit boards, and my military experience was the main reason I got hired. I did my last stint at Moody Air Force Base in Georgia. Well, one day I was looking at some houses to rent. I called a real estate company and ended up getting shown a house by a woman named Lacey. Lacey showed me the house, and I ended up renting it until I found a house I wanted to buy, and that was that. About 4 months later, I attended a party with a good friend, and guess who was there? Lacey. We chatted and mingled the entire night. The chemistry was undeniable. We exchanged numbers, went out a few times, and before I knew it, we were dating, and I moved in with her after my lease was up. After about 2 years of dating, we ended up getting married. Lacey couldn't have kids, and I didn't have any kids of my own. Lacey had some medical issues that prevented her from having kids. Whenever we talked about it, I could see in her face how badly she wanted kids. As time progressed, we settled into a routine. Movie nights and weekend getaways. She would hang out with her girlfriends occasionally, and I would hang out with my friends occasionally. This went on for about 4 years straight. Then boom, her behavior shifted a little bit, but not drastically. She all of a sudden joined the gym. Now, my wife wasn't overweight, but she wasn't built like a brick house at her age. I made a mental note. I didn't question her. I didn't ask her why she joined the gym. Just kept discreet notes on my phone. The next odd thing was when she went out with her girlfriends more often than usual. If I sent her a text, she would almost immediately reply. But that changed. It started taking her hours, and even when she came home after a night out with her girlfriends, she would tell me she didn't hear her phone go off or some other lame excuse. But remember, this was not an issue before. Fast forward 3 months, and her behavior starts to get worse. Now her behavior spills over into the bedroom, and we never had any issues. Even in our 40s, we were getting it on like rabbits, but that was coming to a screeching halt. One night, when we were watching TV, I tried to initiate intimacy, but she pushed me away, saying she was not in the mood. All I said was, okay. That threw me for a loop. I immediately got up and went for a drive to gather my thoughts. Lacey didn't say anything, didn't ask where I was going, nothing. I drove around for almost 2 hours before driving back home. When I got home, Lacey wasn't there, no note, nothing. I didn't freak out. I made a note and wrote it down. When Lacey got home, she didn't come to bed. She stayed downstairs and watched TV alone. Didn't feel like getting into an argument at 2 a.m. I had to get up in 6 hours, so I went back to bed. The following day, I got up and went to work. I didn't say anything to Lacey. She was still asleep on the couch. After being at work for about 3 hours, I got a text from Lacey. She apologized for her behavior last night and promised to make it up to me. I don't know what it was, but I didn't feel that her apology was genuine. But I said it was okay, I love you. But in my mind, I knew something was happening with her. That night when I got home, she was all over me, and let's just say she made it up to me. I felt she was trying to keep me from discovering what was happening with her. This behavior of hers went on for about another month before things started to shift again. But this time I researched tracking laws here in Georgia, and what I found was interesting. If the vehicle is registered to me, I could place a tracker on it. But my plan was spoiled because her car is not registered to me. My only other step was to hire someone to follow her. So I started researching private investigators in my area. When I met with the private investigator, I told him my wife had started to act a tad bit off lately. She joined the gym, not wanting to be as intimate as we used to be. I also told him she has been frequently hanging out with her girlfriends. He then asked me what did I think was wrong. I told the private investigator I had no proof she was doing anything. I gave the private investigator a down payment. I gave him a photo of my wife, all of her friends, and the gym she goes to. Weeks went by without anything from the private investigator. No updates, nothing, and I continued with my wife like nothing was going on. About 3 weeks later, the private investigator asked me to come to his office. What he showed me was devastating. I found out my wife wasn't hanging out with her girlfriends at all. She was attending various house parties with a guy I had never seen before. This is the guy she was cheating with, and the private investigator also said that my wife was seeing another guy, but the first guy didn't know about him either. The investigator caught her cheating in her car and her AP's car. Somehow, the investigator got into one of the house parties and even caught her cheating on the back porch with people around. So, after receiving the information from the private investigator, I took out my phone and opened up a new bank account right there as I sat in my car. When I got home, Lacey wasn't home. I immediately went into protecting my assets mode. Next, I removed her from 2 credit cards that she was an authorized user on. I didn't need them, and I hardly ever used them. At about 6:30-ish p.m., Lacey came home, and the strangest thing happened. She walked right past me, but she had the scent of a man's cologne on her. I just looked at her and shook my head. She went to the bathroom to take a shower, but she never came back out of the bedroom. I slept on the couch that night. When I woke up the next day, she was already gone. I called my boss and told him I needed a day off. That day, I moved all of my stuff out of the house. I didn't care about the house. It was hers. All I wanted was my things. I stayed at a buddy's house until I got another place. Well, when my wife got home, she asked where I was. She only sent one text. She never called. I never went back to the house. My wife was served with divorce papers about a month later. We had only been married 6 years. Seeing that divorce was inevitable, people were asking what was going on since they saw that I changed my Facebook profile status. I simply made a Facebook post of some pictures of my wife and the other men she was with and simply said, "This is why I am getting divorced." Needless to say, I received a little backlash for it, but I really didn't give a shit. Those folks can kiss my ass. She cheated, and now she must face the consequences. About 2 months later, we had our divorce hearing, and it was pretty much a wash. I didn't get alimony, and I wasn't trying to. I had my military retirement, and I was also working. We both were allowed to keep our belongings. I didn't have anything else in the house. I was out. But I found out that one of my wife's APs was married. I contacted his wife and told her everything. She wanted proof I wasn't lying, so I promptly asked to meet her and show her. Well, we met at a diner next to her job, and I gave her a folder with my number and photos in it, and I left. About 2 months later, my ex-wife's AP's wife notified me and told me she was filing for divorce. Then the strangest thing happened. One of my ex-wife's friends came forward and told me that she was sorry that she didn't tell me sooner that my ex-wife was cheating. All I asked her was, how long did she know? She said she knew for at least 2 years that my wife was cheating on me. I let out a big sigh and hung up the phone. Anyway, I have lurked on Reddit forums and didn't want to post my story there. Thank you, Tony, for allowing me to share my story. Well, I agree with OP. For one, not wanting to get married while in the military was probably a good move. Why, he gets to keep his retirement and doesn't have to share it with his cheating wife. The fact that he didn't say anything to his wife was absolutely brilliant. He didn't get mad, he didn't yell, didn't resort to violence. He spent money to get his evidence and divorced her. Until next time.